Hey everyone, Mr. Dempsey here. This is a guide for round 5 of the Nations Cup again. Let's get this started. Your first braking point is going to be just before you reach the 150 meter mark. Brake as much as you can in a straight line, then slowly start to ease off of the brakes as you turn in. Briefly start to accelerate, then apply a quick burst of braking, then carefully start to accelerate. You just want to try to get the car to rotate as quickly as possible. Brake just before the wall on the right ends. You want to be careful when you go through this chicane, as you don't want 3 or more wheels to touch the yellow sausage curbs. Otherwise, you'll get an off-track penalty. So slowly ease off of the brakes, then carefully start to accelerate while trying to make the most use of the track while staying within the track limits. Brake when you reach the 50 meter mark, brake hard for a moment, slowly ease off of the brakes, and slowly transition over to the throttle. Then brake before you reach the 50 meter mark, brake hard for just a moment, then just let the car rotate before you get back on the throttle. Use this path on the right as your next braking point, so you'll brake hard for a short moment, slowly ease off of the brakes, and just try to make use of the curbs. Carefully start to accelerate, and you can take this part flat out. Finally, brake as you reach the 100 meter mark, so you'll brake hard for a while, slowly ease off of the brakes. Hang out on the inside of the turn for a short moment, and then carefully start to accelerate your way out so you don't go too wide. But that is all for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and talk about the strategies. For the qualifying session, you only have 5 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. And since this track is mostly composed of high-speed sections, you want to try to get the slipstream from someone so your car can go even faster, which will result in you getting a better time. And if you're under someone's slipstream, just make sure that you brake a little bit earlier than usual, as you're obviously going faster, so you'll need a bit more distance or braking distance so you can make the turn and not end up overshooting it. And just make sure that you give yourself and the car ahead of you plenty of space while remaining in that slipstream range, which is 1.5 seconds, so you don't get too close to the car ahead of you and have to slow yourself down, which will end up hurting your qualifying time. So with the 5 minutes of the qualifying session, this should give you 2 chances to get a good qualifying time. For the race strategy, there are 3 possible strategies, so let's just quickly go through them all. The first one is going to be the pretty common strategy of doing a simple one-stop strategy. So you can either start on racing medium tires, then go for 7 to 9 laps depending on how you drive the car, then change on over to racing hard tires. Or if you're starting in the back, you can start on racing hard tires, use them for 6 to 8 laps, and then switch on over to the racing medium tires. If you do start on the racing hard tires, you first want to make sure that you have a good idea of how long you personally can last on the racing medium tires, because if you were to, let's say, pit on lap 6 to change on over from the racing hard to medium tires, but your racing medium tires only last you 7 laps, then you're going to be in trouble for those last 2 laps, and the car's just going to be understeering a lot, and those behind you are going to take advantage of you that way. And fuel is also not an issue at all, so don't worry about the fuel. We're more worried about the tires here. The other strategy that I want to briefly touch upon is the no-stop strategy. So you start and end on the racing hard tires, since that is the required tires, so make sure you use racing hard tires at some point. So with the no-stop strategy, it is possible, obviously, to go all 15 laps without needing to do a single tire change. However, you do have to take a couple things into consideration. The first one is that, especially in the first half of the race, you want to try to not battle it out with anyone. If someone is obviously on the racing medium tire strategies and they're right on your bumper, just let them through and take advantage of the slipstream. So for example, in this clip here, I'm doing the no stop strategy, and all I'm going to do, I'm just going to hang out behind this guy, and he's obviously on a faster pace since his racing medium tires have more grip, and I'm just going to hang out right behind him. My car will obviously accelerate a little bit faster, and with all these high-speed sections, it's going to be possible for me to keep up with them. Your advantage starts to shine when those on the racing medium tires are starting to show signs of tire wear and eventually have to go into the pit stop, and that's when you're going to be able to make a couple passes that way. However, you do eventually end up at a disadvantage towards the end of the race, as your tires are starting to get pretty worn out, and those who are on the fresher racing hard tires, or even on the racing medium tires if they started the other way around, they're going to be a bit more of an advantage, so you do want to be a bit careful of that. Because of that, you do have to really take care of your tires if you go for the no stop strategy. And last but not least, the two stop strategy. This is where you do 2 stints of racing medium tires and 1 stint of racing hard tires. The racing hard tire stint, you only do it for 1 lap, and each racing hard tire stint will last 7 laps. Even though you'll eventually get the best times on the second racing medium tire stint, the additional pit stop is going to end up hurting you a bit, and you risk getting left behind by those on the 1 or even no stop stints, just because you're spending more time on the pit stop than they are. So I would suggest going with the 1 stop, and if you really know what you're doing, you're able to get really good times, and you're able to take care of your tires and are able to consistently stay on someone's slipstream, then a no stop is definitely another option that you can take. But that is pretty much it for this guide. Just trying to keep it nice and brief here. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.